What's up, you guys? So it's Holly with Holly Go Light. This is Holly Go Lightly, and welcome back to my closet. I have another video where I'm gonna be putting on my makeup and talking to you about some of my haunted experiences. I think I'm gonna do this every Monday for October. So if you like it, I hope you enjoy. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you about that. But I think I'm going to maybe broaden out and not talk just about my own experiences, but also, like I mentioned, the the ghost towns here in Nevada and some stuff like that. Because I've been to some ghost towns and try to combine it with some information as well as my experiences. We shall see. So anyway, I'm gonna be filming a couple of videos. One you're gonna see, you will have already seen. Another one you might see later. I don't know when they're going up actually. But I'm gonna put my makeup on for those today and talk to you about my experiences with Ouija boards. Okay. So, I don't know if the credits just inserted there or if they were at the beginning, but my experiences with Ouija boards. I actually don't use Ouija boards. I have not for a long time, but I have used them in the past. And in the past, so let me get started with my base. I really don't know what I want to use. I'm going to use this Tatcha silk canvas because I have forgotten about it for a long time and I only found it again recently. And then I'll tell you the products that I'm using, and I'll try to skip through any parts where I'm not talking so that you're not just bored. But if I'm able to, if I can remember, I don't think I did for the haunted museum, but I'll try to remember to put the products in the description bar for you. So anyway, while I'm putting this on, I'm going to start my experience with Ouija boards. So like I said, I don't use Ouija boards now, and I haven't in a very long time. In my work, I do see people, I do encounter people who want to use Ouija boards or are curious about how to use them effectively, safely, etc. And to be 100% honest with you, there's no way to safely use one. It's like you're lucky or you're not. So if you, yeah, just get that idea out. Basically, there are all sorts of tools that you can use to communicate with spiritual beings, elemental beings, fairies, whatever you call them in your particular life, some of them are quite harmless. Things like crystals, things like prayers, beads, jewelry, things that connect you to the spiritual realm. They're really harmless because they're a one-way sort of connection. You form the connection with entities of spiritual nature who are attuned to those very innocent, very simplistic type of tools. But then there are going to be more middle grade tools like tarot cards, oracle cards, runes, pendulums, where you're now opening yourself up to connect with entities or spiritual beings of basically the vast majority of them. And those types of things, although they're not dangerous per se, they're going to require a little bit more understanding or fine-tuning to be able to get significant answers through them. And then you have the what I would call dangerous forms of connection. Certain types of pendulum work can be very dangerous. Blood magic can be very dangerous. But in my experience, the Ouija board is the most dangerous form of communication with spirits because it opens you up to all spirit levels, from the most passive kind to the darkest, evilest. But what happens is that under normal circumstances, when you connect to entities, especially if they're malevolent, you have to somehow you open yourself to them. You invite them. You either invite them into your home, you invite them into your space, or in the case of possessions, you invite them into yourself. Under most circumstances, pendulum work, blood magic, I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of. Sacrifices, I don't do that, but some people do. Ritual sacrifice. In those situations, you are making a conscious decision to take an action that opens you up to these negative entities. And by doing so, you're able to then consciously guard yourself and say that no, you're not allowed in. You are able to put up boundaries, you're able to put up wards, you're able to put up protection to keep them from coming in. Ouija boards were marketed as a game. So there are a lot of people who use them who don't understand what they're doing, who are opening themselves up to entities of all kinds without realizing they need to protect themselves first. By using the tool, you're agreeing that the contractual binding between you and that spiritual being, whether it's a crystal or a Ouija board, you know that you're using it and you're using it with purpose, with intent. That's the contract. But there are a lot of people who use Ouija boards without understanding there has to be intent, and it opens them up to being accessible to negative entities without their mental consent, their spiritual consent, but they gave their physical consent by using the board. So that's why Ouija boards are incredibly dangerous, and I definitely recommend people don't use them unless you are a very experienced spiritual practitioner and you know what you're doing and you know how to put up those wards and boundaries. With the disclaimer out of the way, let's start slapping on foundation, and I will tell you about my experiences. So I'm gonna be lazy. I'm just really gonna be lazy. I'm gonna use the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation. This is pretty old. I don't think they make this anymore. So I put on the contour, my cream contour as well. So, my son is not happy right now, so I apologize if you can hear him in the back. So anyway, I look crazy. Perfect. So the first time I used a Ouija board, I was very young. I was probably a preteen. I remember being at my grandparents' house in California, and they had one like down in the games room, and I didn't know what it was. I actually had no idea what it was. And I saw it, I kind of fooled with it, but I didn't really use it because I didn't know anything about it or how to use it. Years later, when I was a teen, my best friend and I used to babysit on the weekends for her aunt. Her aunt was a single parent, and she worked in a bar, and so she needs someone to come babysit her daughter. And my friend and I would love to do that because it gave us a place on a Friday or Saturday night where we were then, free to do whatever we wanted. We didn't have parents. We were responsible for the child, obviously, but she'd go to bed at like 9, and her mom wouldn't be back until like 3 or 4 in the morning. So we have quite a good amount of time where we were kind of free to do whatever we wanted. And one day, let's see, I don't think it was the first time that I had stayed over there with my friend to babysit. Sometimes we had like other people come over. We'd have boys come over. We, you know, we had other things going on. But one time I noticed that her mom, or her aunt, my friend's aunt, had a Ouija board. And I don't know how it came about. She had a lot of cool things. She had like a karaoke machine. She had one of those like balls that you would touch and the light would like touch your finger, those electricity balls. You know, she just had a lot of cool freaking stuff. So we would be like singing karaoke, or I'm gonna put some more contour on. This is Anastasia Beverly Hills contour stick in Mink. So anyway, you know, we did all those things. One time I think we were probably bored. I don't know, maybe we had watched a movie. I don't, you know, really know the chain of events, but we decided to fool around with the Ouija board. So we started using it. Oh my God. So we started using it. We started asking, you know, if anyone was there, could anyone communicate with us, if there was anyone with us, you know, the stereotypical questions. And the board worked. My friend and I were like so shocked. We didn't really expect it to work. I have to say this. We both went to a very small Christian school. Her parents were quite laid back, but my parents were very strict. I would never have been able to use a Ouija board with my mom's knowing. She would not have put up with that. She would have been shutting that down. In fact, I don't know when it was that the one that my grandparents had disappeared, but I think it did roughly after I found it. I probably told her. She probably had them, you know, she probably got rid of it for them. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start priming my eyes so I can tell this bit, and then I'll go off and do my eyebrows and then come back. So it worked. We were asking stupid questions, getting like pretty simple answers, yes or no, or you know, just it could have been some sort of spiritual connection, or it could have been, you know, the two of us being tricked into believing that it was happening without us doing anything. You know, the psychiatric phenomena that they claim the movement is. I don't know what it's called. I'll probably put it in here. So let me do my brows and I'll be back. Okay, so I was going to use the Baby Yoda palette from ColourPop because I'm wearing my Baby Yoda t-shirt, but I can't get to it. I know where it is, I just can't get to it, so I'm not going to. I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury The Rock Chick palette. So one night we decided to play with the Ouija board. We were just kind of goofing off. We were getting, you know, yes, no, simple answers. But we were asking questions like, does so-and-so like me? Does ex-boy want to date me? Like, we're like 15 or 16 at this time. And like literally boys were the only thing on our mind. I mean, we were kind of boy crazy. But then we started asking more like questions that were longer, questions that you couldn't answer with just a yes or no. I remember my friend asked something about her current boyfriend, and it was like, who does so and so like, and it was not her name, and we were just like, like, it wasn't anyone we knew, right? But it wasn't her name, and so we were like, oh my god. This sounds really harmless. It mostly was. Basically, after that, my friend got like, she got kind of PO'd, and she didn't want to do it anymore, so we put it away, and we just went on with our night, doing other things. A couple of days, like, not days, but times, like, we went and babysat, you know, more often than that. Like, that doesn't make sense. We went and babysat pretty regularly since her aunt did have to work. She had a schedule. So we were pretty, either us or my friend's older sister were basically the two people that we kind of rotated. But yeah, after that, my friend got a bit annoyed. She didn't want to do it anymore. I was like still curious. I was on the hook, man, because I was asking stuff about boys that I liked, and I wanted to know more. Like, first of all, this isn't how it works. Spirits can't read minds. They don't know, like, unless the spirit just overheard someone saying X and then came to you and told you, like, oh, you know, they said XYZ. They don't know. It's like, they're not a figure, like a like, spirits aren't a magic 8-ball, you know. They don't have an actual knowledge of the future. There are some things that they understand because they can experience the timelines in sequence, like, all at once. But they definitely don't know what people are thinking or doing, so it's funny now, but at the time I was like, oh my god, I need to know. So anyway, I think probably maybe like 2 or 3 times after that, when we went over to babysit, I was able to convince my friend to use the Ouija board again. Probably just out of boredom. Because it was like, there was a lot of fun stuff, but it was pretty much stuff that got old quickly. Her aunt was a bit of a drinker, so she had like wine, like boxed wine, and so we'd sneak little cupfuls of wine, but we couldn't drink too much because we didn't want her to know that we had taken it. But anyway, I convinced her to try the Ouija board again, and it started off the same way. We basically were just asking about school, boys, dates. Does so-and-so like me? Does so-and-so like so-and-so? You know, getting the gossip, getting the tea on what was going on in our world. And then the board started telling us no. The board was telling us no for everything. And we didn't know at first. Like, we thought that no was the answer. We didn't know that it was actually refusing to tell us right away. But we kind of figured it out, and we're like, whoa, like, okay, so it's saying no, no, no. This is somebody on the other end saying this. So yeah. There had been some answers, like, to things like, you know, questions, I don't know, like, just questions that we'd asked about being teenagers, you know, high school life. There had been some answers that had seemed a bit too personal for just us to be imagining, like, psychokinesis or whatever it is. So, when the board started telling us no, it was like, we really got excited. We realized that there was a person on the other end, or what purports to be a person on the other end, because that's the thing, you don't know. And we just thought it was the coolest damn thing. So then we started asking questions to get to know the entity that we were talking to. Whether, like, was it a person? Was it a spirit? Was it a ghost? Was it somebody we knew? Like, I don't think either of us knew anyone that had died that we would then recognize by talking to, but, you know, it was a pretty cool thought. So we found out that the entity called himself whatever. I don't remember what he called himself. We'll say Jeff, okay? But the entity called himself Jeff, that he was 15, our age, and he had been killed in a car accident only a few years ago from the time that this was taking place. The entity said that he had gone to a specific high school that was in that area. That was a specific high school, not our school, but a specific school. And that he would have graduated like the year before we were doing this. We found out that it was a male entity that was close, that was our age. It was essentially a teenage boy, you know, trapped on the other side, or not able to cross over to the other side, more specifically. We got really, you know, interested in the entity, and we're asking questions about itself, and it was answering what it liked to do, you know, before it had died. And I say it because although he was claiming to be a male person, a male human spirit, again, you don't know. You don't know. So that's, you have to be careful. Once again, we had no idea what was happening as kids. We had not taken any precautions to protect ourselves from spiritual. The house had no protection on it whatsoever. So we were kind of sitting ducks. So it could have been a teenage boy that had passed away in a car accident in 1992 or whenever, or it could have been anything else. I never did look, because by the time I thought about it, I was too far past that time, and I didn't remember much about what the boy said about himself. But the thing is that spirits will only know what they know, but entities will know everything. So you can't really judge from that. Like, oh, well, how did he know that he died X, Y, and Z time? That's why. Spirits will know that, and entities, but entities, the spirit wouldn't. But we didn't ask him. We didn't ask him about that. So anyway, that's basically the eyes done. I'm gonna go off and do my face, and I will come back and finish the tail. All right, so I just put on my usual loose powder, which I'll try to remember to put down below. And then this is the Becca Blushed Copper Shimmering Skin Perfector. I really like this one as a bronzer, like as a gleamy, like a shimmery bronzer, but it is too dark for a highlight for me. But I am gonna put it on as a bronzer. So anyway, that is a very good tip, I guess. Tip, not really tip, because I'm not giving out tips here. But you will see, like, ghost hunters use that, or basically anyone who thinks they're interacting with a entity and wants to determine what type. Ghosts can't really tell you more than what they knew when they were alive. So although they can interact with you, perhaps if they are a sentient type of haunting, they're not going to really be able to talk to you about world events, which another thing that makes it so laughable that we thought we were going to, like, go out and have the Ouija board tell us, like, who we were going to go to prom with. Not even prom in our case. We had banquets. But so asking what year it is a really good way to judge if the intelligence of the haunting is high or low. Unfortunately, there is a downside to that, and that is a very intelligent type of entity already knows that you're trying to trick them, so they will tell you the wrong answer. Y'all, it's just like one of those things where it's like, there's no good way to go about it. I feel like I dropped something here, but I guess not. You can use that to try to identify the year, you know, whether or not you're talking to a spirit or a entity. Anyway, we didn't do that. But so this entity, the spirit, whatever it was, I'm gonna call him a spirit because I don't think he was an entity, but he was telling us about his life, his parents, you know, he was giving us a bunch of information about himself. And we really got into it. We were like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this guy's a ghost. So embarrassing. Please don't judge me for that. It might have just been me, too. My friend, like, I can just be remembering this from my perspective. My friend maybe was like, dude, this is so lame. I don't know. But I was like, oh my god. Anyway, so we started asking just kind of like, well, we were like, hey, you know, Jeff, why didn't you want to answer our questions about the guys that we liked anymore? Like, why'd you stop answering our questions? And he was like, jealous, spelled out. And we were like, what? And so we were like, what do you mean jealous? They're jealous? We're jealous? Who's jealous? He spelled it back. I'm jealous, or me, or, you know, whatever, communicates that he is jealous. And so we ask why. It says, because you're pretty. And we're like, oh, okay, oh, we're pretty. Those things are pretty. Fucking ghost things were pretty. So we're asking, like, well, who do you think is the prettiest? And he's messaging. This is like an interdimensional Tinder profile here. It's like, can't, you know, can't say, don't want to say. Like, made it pretty clear that he didn't want to answer that question. I'm not sure if it had anything to do with the truth or whether it just was the fact that he knew, or the spirit knew, or the entity knew that we would stop playing if he got us mad. It's like, you're both beautiful. Can't pick a favorite, basically. It's the whole gist. So we start asking questions like, well, what would you want to do if we went on a date? Like, what would you do? Like, what would you like to do on a date with us? Or like, if we went on a date, like you and me, we start asking. And at first we were getting pretty good response, like just normal responses. Would want to you know, when I would want to go to the movies, we'd get like the movies as a response or something. But then it started getting weird because we'd ask stuff like, was like, oh, well, what do you think that we would do on our, you know, fifth date? Or like something like that. Since he wasn't asking questions about other people, we were asking the same questions essentially towards this entity. And one of the answers I remember to the questions was kill you. And we were like, what? And then it spelled out, ha ha. So we're like, that's not funny. Like, that's not a funny joke. Like, why would you say that? And then the Ouija board spelled out some pretty nasty things. Things like, called us like names. Well, it just said a, like, it said a bad word. I'm just deciding that it was directed at the both of us, you know, instead of having to go the extra, make it plural. So like, it was like bitch. And then it was like kill you, haha. And then like see you dead or drink your blood. Stuff like that. Like really not like, if a human said it to you, you could be like, okay, what? That's weird, but they're just being weird. But this was a ghost, right? So my friend was like, she gets mad. She's like, fuck you, you're a ghost. And all of a sudden, the lights start flickering in the house. And we're like, oh fucking shit. And I'm gonna finish mascara and brows. No, not brows. I'm gonna finish mascara, set my face, and then I'll come back and do the lips and finish the story. I'm honestly sorry, you guys. I don't mean to keep you hanging. I just am trying to find decent spots to pause and then continue. So yeah, after my friend was like, you're just a ghost, like all rude, the lights in the living room and the kitchen started like flickering like really fast, like not like a kind of like static flickering, like it would be if the power was gonna surge, but like a very intense flickering, like somebody was turning the switch on and off, like that. And we were like, what the fuck? And then they, oh god, oh god. Yeah, so we're freaking out, as you would be. But then it got 10 times worse. I look like the Joker. The lights went out, and the only thing still lit in the room was the electricity ball thing that I was talking about. And on the ball, you could see the little spires, like the little lines of static or electricity go out, as if somebody was putting their hands on it. It went out to all like 10 points like that. Dare I say, we fucking freaked out. We would have left, but she's like, oh my god, her cousin was there still. She's like, we can't leave her alone. Obviously, we couldn't leave her alone. She was little. She was like 2 or 3. She's like, oh my god. So we ran into her cousin's room. And her cousin was asleep in her bed. And we ran into her room. We locked the door. And we stayed there. We stayed there until her aunt came home. And I remember her aunt coming in the house and like calling her, my friend, like asking like, where are you? And we realized like there was nothing weird to her out there. The lights were back on. There was nothing weird happening. Like, either we had totally imagined it or it was over. And so we left because her aunt was home, so we left. We never really talked about it because we didn't really want to believe that it happened, but we didn't go back to babysit. Like, my friend didn't go back for a while, and then I didn't go back even after that for a while because it was my friend that was doing the babysitting. I was just invited over to stay with her. I remember the first time that I went over there, my friend showed me that her aunt had put the Ouija board in their like toy like games closet, and neither of us wanted to touch it, to move it, or anything. Like, we weren't going to use it, but we didn't want to touch it, to move it, or anything like that. And the other thing I remember is that nothing weird ever happened to me outside of that while I was there. There was never, like, nothing weird happened after that. Nothing weird happened to me because of that. Like, so that's one of the reasons I think that we got lucky, and that the spirit we were talking to was actually the intelligent spirit of someone who had died, and was not actually like a negative entity type of energy. And they just, I think the spirit just got aggravated by us because honestly, spirits don't really have a full range of complex human emotions anymore, so it's not surprising. But if it had been an entity, I mean, if it had been an entity, I don't really see there being a way that we go back to that house and not be bothered by it, or for her aunt to not have been bothered by it. Because with a Ouija board, it's not only an invitation into you, like your space, it's an invitation into the space you're using. So places can get taken over, people, you know. It's really just not a good vibe. It's not good. It's not something to fuck around with, for sure. If you don't know what you're doing, and if you do know what you're doing, then I applaud you for wanting to do it anyway, because I would never. Like, that is 110% beyond any type of mediumship activity that I would ever involve myself in. So that is my story about Ouija boards. This is my makeup, and I will be seeing you very soon in another video. If you like this content, make sure to tell me in the comments down below and let me know if there is a type of spooky situation, like a haunting or anything paranormal, that you're interested in. Do I have experience with, or do I know anyone who's had any experience with? Because I've had a lot of paranormal happenings in my own life, and I like to talk to them, but most people, I like to talk about them, but most people think I'm crazy, which I am, but not this way. Not because of this. So let me know in the comments. Leave me a thumbs up if you just like this video in general, if you like this style of video, because I'd be happy to talk about other things too. So just let me know. And otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.